In a world of noise and distraction, there is one place where wisdom still whispers, where voices of greatness echo through time. Welcome to the Motivational Library.
Before we talk about success, wealth, love, or healing, one uncomfortable truth must be faced. Your mind is already creating your life. It is not waiting for a method or a secret. Right now, your subconscious is shaping your reality through a simple law. Whatever you repeatedly imagine and emotionally rehearse seeks expression. We love this law when it works in our favor. We call it manifestation, faith, visualization. We celebrate it when something good appears and say, "My thoughts created this." But the same law responds to fear. The imagination that can build opportunity can also build invisible prisons. When worry, doubt, and anxiety dominate the inner world, fear does not remain harmless. It begins to manifest. Not because life is cruel, not because you're being punished, but because the subconscious mind is impartial. It does not judge your thoughts. It does not reject them. It simply receives what you repeat, the images you dwell on, the emotions you rehearse, the quiet words you speak to yourself when no one is listening. And then it expresses outwardly what you have impressed inwardly. You may speak faith while secretly expecting failure. You may set goals while rehearsing loss, illness, or rejection in your mind. The subconscious listens not to the loudest voice, but to the most consistent one. This book does not exist to scare you. It exists to awaken you. Fear works by the same law that produces healing, breakthroughs, and success. What is impressed must be expressed. When you understand this, fear is no longer a private emotion. It becomes a choice, a form of negative prayer. Every fearful image you feed asks life to repeat the pattern. And life, obedient to the law of mind, tries to make you right. These pages will show you how to interrupt that pattern, reprogram your subconscious, and redirect the same creative power toward clarity, confidence, and peace. Your fears have been creating long enough. Now it is time to see what happens when your faith takes control. Chapter 1. The Law of Mind. Fear and faith use the same power. Before any technique, before affirmations, before visualization, there is one truth you must understand. Your mind is governed by law, not a human law that bends to emotion or excuses, but a law as precise and reliable as gravity. It has been called many names: the law of mind, the law of belief, the creative law of the subconscious. The name does not matter. Its operation never changes. Your subconscious mind takes whatever you feel is true and works to express it as experience. It does not respond to casual wishes. It does not move because of words repeated without feeling. It moves when an idea sinks deep enough to become a conviction, when it is wrapped in emotion and accepted as real in the hidden chamber of your heart. This is why some people change their lives with very few words, while others repeat thousands of affirmations and remain stuck. The subconscious does not respond to noise. It responds to inner consent. It listens to the feeling behind the thought. When you understand this, something unsettling and liberating reveals itself. Fear and faith are not separate powers. They are two directions of the same creative force. Faith is the inner assumption that life supports you, that guidance exists, that good is possible even when evidence is missing. Fear is the inner assumption that life is against you, that danger is near, that loss is inevitable. Both use the same instrument, imagination charged with emotion. Think of the subconscious mind as fertile soil. The soil does not judge the seed. It does not debate morality or worthiness. It simply receives and multiplies. Plant wheat and wheat grows. Plant thorns and thorns grow. The harvest is determined by the seed. In the same way, the subconscious accepts your mental pictures without argument. If the picture is success, safety, or harmony, supported by the feeling "this is for me," the law of mind begins quietly arranging your thoughts, actions, and circumstances to match it. If the picture is failure, loss, humiliation, or danger, supported by the feeling something bad is coming, the same law moves with equal loyalty, now in the direction of your fear. The power itself is neutral. Like electricity, it can illuminate a home or burn it down. The difference lies not in the power, but in the direction. This is where many sincere people unknowingly sabotage themselves. They say, "I believe in success," while feeling deeply unworthy. They say, "I trust one will heal," while replaying worst-case outcomes in their imagination. They say, "I know I'll be provided for," while living as if every bill proves abandonment. Outwardly, they speak faith. Inwardly, they rehearse fear. And the law of mind obeys the deeper feeling. You may remember times when you just knew something bad would happen, and then it did. You called it intuition, a warning, a gut feeling. But often, it was not a divine signal meant to protect you. It was a belief you had practiced for years. Assumptions like, "Things never work out for me. I always lose what I love. Whenever something good appears, something bad follows." These are not harmless thoughts. They are seeds. Repeated with emotion, the mind treats them as instructions. It filters perception to confirm them. It nudges choices that fulfill them. It interprets neutral events in ways that keep the story alive. And when life finally matches the inner pattern, you feel proven right, never realizing the law of mind has simply done its work. Joseph Murphy taught that the subconscious is not the weak part of you. It is the creative part, the builder that never sleeps, the silent architect shaping health or illness, peace or anxiety, abundance or lack, according to the blueprint you handed. That blueprint is redrawn daily. Every time you imagine disaster with vivid emotion, you draft a negative design. Every time you relive failure and say, "That's just how life is," you reinforce it. Every time you dwell on stories of loss, betrayal, or danger and accept them as truth, you offer the mind a model to reproduce. The subconscious does not know you are just being realistic. It only knows you are presenting an image with feeling. That is enough. This is why fear feels so powerful. Not because fear has authority, but because you give it your best energy. You think about it longer. Feel it deeper. Revisit more often. Speak about it with more passion than your dreams. What you worship in the inner temple of the mind, you eventually meet in the outer world. Yet this same law, so misunderstood, is your greatest ally. If your mind can organize life to fulfill your fears, imagine what it can do when guided by faith. If it can gather circumstances to confirm your worst expectations, it can gather them to fulfill your highest ones. The power has never been broken. It has only been misdirected. Fear and faith are equal in method, not an outcome. Both use imagination plus emotion repeated over time. One contracts your life. The other expands it. You do not fight the law of mind. You work with it. You stop asking life for new results while planting the same fearful seeds. You recognize that every fearful image costs spiritual currency, and you choose to spend that currency differently. From here, the journey unfolds. Fear is no longer a mystery or a tormentor. It is a signal showing you where creative power has been misused and where it can now be reclaimed. The law of mind is simple. What you impress, you express. Your fears have impressed themselves long enough. Now you will learn how to give this law a new assignment. Chapter 2. How Fear Programs the Subconscious Mind. If the subconscious mind is the fertile soil of your life, then fear is the unnoticed gardener, planting seeds while you're distracted, busy, or unaware. You were not born carrying most of your fears. They were learned, rehearsed, impressed. To free yourself, you must first see clearly how this programming began and how it continues even now. The subconscious mind is most open when you are relaxed, emotionally charged, or not consciously guarding your thoughts. It does not debate. It does not analyze. It absorbs, and it is programmed primarily through three pathways: repetition, vivid imagery, strong emotion, Fear is powerful because it uses all three at once. Think back to the first time you felt real fear as a child. Perhaps there was illness in your home, raised voices during an argument, sudden financial stress, a loss, or public humiliation. At that age, your conscious mind lacked context. You didn't understand economics, psychology, or health. You only felt the atmosphere: tension, worry, silence, tears, the sense that something was wrong. In those moments, the subconscious drew conclusions, not in words but in feeling. Life is not safe. Love disappears. Money vanishes. Bodies fail. I am not secure. These conclusions were written deeply because the emotion was intense. And once written, the mind began looking for confirmation. As you grew, similar experiences reinforced the original belief. Not because they were identical, but because the subconscious filtered your attention. You noticed what matched fear. You remembered what supported it. You overlooked the countless moments of safety, care, and provision. Fear did not just respond to reality. It began shaping how reality was perceived. Then came repetition. You may have grown up in environments filled with worry-laced language. Life is hard. Money doesn't last. People can't be trusted. Don't expect too much. You'll just be disappointed. These statements, repeated in emotionally charged settings, acted like hypnotic suggestions. You didn't analyze them. You absorbed them. The subconscious is programmed less by logic and more by atmosphere. One fearful statement, spoken with conviction in a tense environment, penetrates deeper than many positive truths spoken casually and forgotten. This is why a single painful experience can mark someone for years, while dozens of positive moments seem to fade. As you grew older, you began continuing the process yourself. You imagined failure before exams, rejection before conversations, embarrassment before speaking, disaster before sleep. Each time, you thought you were preparing. In reality, you were training. The subconscious does not distinguish between an event vividly imagined and one physically lived. When you replay fearful scenarios, the body responds as if they are real. Muscles tense, breathing shifts, stress chemicals flood the system. The subconscious takes note. This must be important. And so the image is stored as truth. This is how fear programs behavior. A person who has rehearsed abandonment for years does not enter relationships neutrally. A delayed message feels dangerous. A change in tone feels threatening. Innocent events are interpreted through an old lens. Fear wears the mask of protection. The subconscious believes, if I keep you expecting the worst, you'll never be surprised. If I keep you small, you won't be humiliated. If I keep you worried, you'll stay alive. It does not realize it is building a prison. As Joseph Murphy taught, the subconscious is not malicious. It is obedient. It carries out instructions given through repeated emotional thinking. Say inwardly, I always ruin things, and it looks for proof. Whisper, no one really loves me, and it tries to make that true. Fear is not just a feeling. It is a story about who you are, about how the world works, about what the future holds. That story is reinforced every time you relive the past, worry about the future, or choose the darkest interpretation of the present. Here is the good news. Anything learned can be unlearned. Any story can be rewritten. The same process that programmed fear can be used, intentionally, to program confidence, peace, and trust. You do not defeat fear by fighting it. You weaken it by removing its authority. When fear speaks, you stop treating it as prophecy. You recognize it as conditioning. Instead of saying, this voice knows what's coming, you say, this voice is repeating what I was taught. That shift creates distance. Distance creates freedom. Then, gently and consistently, you introduce new images, new feelings, new inner rehearsals. Safety instead of danger. Success instead of failure. Enough instead of lack. At first, the subconscious resists, not because it is evil, but because it is loyal to the old script. But every time you choose the new image with feeling, repetition, and clarity, the law begins working in your favor. The same force that once imprisoned you starts setting you free. Fear programmed your subconscious without permission. Now, consciously you reclaim that power. and you decide what gets written on the inner screen. Chapter 3. The many faces of fear, scarcity, loss, and rejection. Fear rarely announces itself honestly. It does not always arrive as panic or terror. More often, it wears ordinary clothing. It calls itself realism, caution, personality, common sense. To disarm fear, you must first recognize its disguises. At its core, fear usually takes three forms. Fear of not having enough. Fear of losing what you have. Fear of not being enough. These appear as scarcity, loss, and rejection. They may look different on the surface, but they grow from the same root belief. You are separated from the good you need. The first face, scarcity. Scarcity is not simply a lack of money. It is a way of seeing the world. It whispers that there is never enough, that opportunities are rare, that life is a competition and someone else is always ahead of you. It teaches you to expect shortage before you ever look for possibility. A bill becomes a threat instead of a transaction. A slow month becomes a prophecy of collapse. Someone else's success feels like proof that there is less left for you. The subconscious, impressed with images of lack, begins organizing your behavior around fear. You hesitate to invest in yourself. You avoid learning, growth, and expansion because you can't afford it. You stay in unfulfilling work because better options feel unavailable to people like you. You undercharge. You overwork. You apologize for your value. Somewhere deep inside, you live with the feeling that you're always one step away from falling apart. Joseph Murphy taught that behind scarcity lies a deeper misunderstanding. The belief that your supply comes only through visible channels. When you believe your good depends on one job, one person, or one economy, fear feels logical. But when you realize that all channels are merely instruments, and that supply itself is unlimited, scarcity loses its authority. It is revealed not as a law, but as a misperception. The second face, fear of loss. If scarcity says there won't be enough, fear of loss says even if I have something good, it won't last. This fear often forms after death, betrayal, abandonment, or sudden change. The subconscious, trying to protect you, reaches a painful conclusion. Attachment is dangerous, so it builds defenses. You struggle to fully enjoy what you have. A quiet voice whispers, "This is too good to last." Joy feels fragile. Success feels temporary. Love feels like something waiting to be taken. Sometimes you sabotage what is good so you can say, "I let it go," instead of facing the terror of losing it. In relationships, fear of loss shows up as control or distance. You may monitor, test, and question, or withdraw emotionally so you never fully commit. Either way, fear writes the script. The subconscious believes it is protecting you, not realizing it is creating loneliness, instability, and dissatisfaction. Expecting loss, it guides you toward behaviors that make loss more likely. And when separation finally happens, the belief is reinforced. See? Nothing lasts. Everyone leaves. The third face, fear of not being enough. This fear runs the deepest. Scarcity fears things. Loss fears circumstances and people. This fear questions you. It often speaks quietly. I'm not worthy. I'm not capable. Something is wrong with me. It hides behind perfectionism, overworking, overgiving, overperforming to earn what you already believe you don't deserve. It hides behind arrogance, exaggerating strength to cover insecurity. It hides behind indecision. Every choice feels like a test you're doomed to fail. Once the subconscious accepts the belief, "I am not enough," it begins arranging life to confirm it. You gravitate toward people who undervalue you. You feel drawn to environments where you are unseen. You dismiss opportunities that would require a new self-image. A door opens, but the inner voice says don't walk through it. You'll only expose yourself. Others may see your talent, intelligence, beauty, and potential. They may encourage you sincerely. But praise bounces off when it contradicts the inner script. Compliments feel uncomfortable. Success feels like a mistake waiting to be corrected. In this way, Fear blocks the reception of good, even when it stands directly in front of you. The pattern revealed. All three faces of fear create the same result: a self-fulfilling prophecy. Scarcity leads to decisions that maintain lack. Fear of loss leads to behaviors that strain relationships. Fear of not being enough leads to choices that shrink your life. This is not punishment. It is the law of mind in motion. The subconscious works tirelessly to make your experience match your beliefs about life and yourself. But the law does not belong to fear. It belongs to consciousness, and consciousness can change its mind. The moment you see these patterns clearly, you step out of them. What you can observe, you're no longer completely identified with. When you hear there's never enough, you recognize a suggestion, not a prophecy. When you think they'll leave me, you recognize old pain, not present truth. When I'm not enough arises, you treat it as conditioning, not identity. In that moment, fear loses its final authority. Joseph Murphy taught that the first act of liberation is realizing your dominant beliefs are not destiny. They were formed by repetition and emotion, and they could be dissolved the same way. In the chapters ahead, you will learn how to replace scarcity with abundance, loss with order, and rejection with inner worth. You will learn to install new images, new emotions, and new expectations. For now, simply notice. What do you feel there is never enough? Where do you fear losing what you love? Where do you doubt your own value? Do not judge your answers. See them as evidence of how powerfully your mind has been creating, even without permission. And if fear has shaped your life this precisely, imagine what will unfold when the same power is directed with clarity, faith, and love. There comes a moment when fear stops being a thought and starts becoming a sensation. Tight shoulders, shallow breath, a racing heart. People say, "It's not in my head anymore, it's in my body." But the truth is simpler and more unsettling. The body was never separate from a mind. It has always been the screen where the inner movie plays. Your subconscious runs your body without asking permission. It regulates your heartbeat, digestion, immunity, and repair. And it responds not to logic, but to emotion, especially the emotion you repeat. When fear becomes chronic, the subconscious receives a constant signal. We are in danger. Not for a moment, but all the time. The body obeys. Muscles stay tense. Breathing shortens. Stress hormones flood the system. What was designed for short emergencies becomes a permanent state of living. You may not be running from a predator, but your body thinks you are. The subconscious cannot tell the difference between a real threat and a vividly imagined one. It reacts to the feeling, not the facts. Every fearful thought leaves a physical echo. One echo fades. Thousands become a pattern. The nervous system learns fear. The body memorizes it. Headaches, stomach tension, fatigue, chest pressure. These are not random. They are messages. The body is showing you the script that has been playing in your mind. This does not mean every illness is caused by fear. But fear can weaken resistance, slow healing, and activate what might have stayed dormant. Your beliefs become part of your body's environment. Fear says, "This is inevitable," and the body listens. But here is the reversal. The same law that allows fear to become flesh allows faith to do the same. The body is neutral. It expresses what the mind accepts most deeply. When people stop feeding fear and begin impressing images of strength, safety, and renewal, the body begins to respond differently. Not instantly, but faithfully. Healing does not require denial. It requires a new dominant voice. When symptoms appear, panic reinforces the old program. Calm interrupts it. Each time you respond with reassurance instead of fear, you teach the subconscious a new message. We're safe now. Over time, new grooves form. Breath deepens. Muscles soften. Sleep improves. Energy returns. The body learns a new language. Your body is not your enemy. It is your messenger, and it is listening. Fear has spoken through it long enough. Now it is ready to hear something stronger. Chapter 4. When fear becomes flesh, the body as the mind screen. There comes a point where fear stops being a fleeting thought and begins to inscribe itself in your body, in your muscles, your breath, your heartbeat, your chemistry. You say, "It's no longer in my head. It's in my body." What many don't realize is that the body was never separate from a mind. It is the living screen upon which your inner life is projected. Your subconscious governs every vital function. It beats your heart, digests your food, repairs tissue, fights infection, balances temperature, and coordinates the miracle of life itself. And it listens closely to your dominant emotions. When fear becomes chronic, the subconscious receives a clear message. We are in danger. Not for a moment, not in response to reality, but as an ongoing, constant state. The body obeys. Muscles tighten. Breathing shortens. The heart races. Stress hormones flood your system. This was designed for short-term emergencies, not the constant alarm that many people live in every day. They wake with worry, carry tension through the hours, and fall asleep rehearsing tomorrow's disasters. The subconscious cannot distinguish between a lion in the room and a catastrophe vividly imagined. Joseph Murphy often recounted a man who feared heart disease so intensely that he studied every article, examined every sensation, and imagined collapse, ambulances, hospitals, funerals. The body listened. The fear manifested exactly what was imagined. This is not superstition. It is the interplay between belief, nervous system, and physiology. Every fearful thought echoes in your body. Repeated thousands of times, it becomes habit, a pattern, a blueprint for the physical self. The nervous system lives on edge. Immunity weakens. Organs receive messages they were never designed for. Notice your own body. When a challenging conversation approaches, does your stomach tighten? Thinking about a financial crisis, does your chest feel heavy? Imagining humiliation, do your hands sweat? Throat close? These are not random reactions. They map the areas where fear has been allowed to dominate. Left unaddressed, these patterns can become chronic tension or dysfunction. The body is not your enemy. It is your messenger. Headaches reflect mental overload. Digestive distress prints unprocessed experiences. Fatigue screams, "I cannot live in constant alarm anymore." Genetics, diet, environment. Yes, they matter, but fear amplifies, aggravates, and accelerates what might otherwise remain dormant. The same law that allows fear to become flesh also allows faith to become flesh. The body is neutral. It expresses the ideas most deeply accepted by your mind. This does not replace medical care or common sense. It enhances it. Healing is mind, body, and spirit in concert, not in conflict. Begin by listening. When symptoms appear, pause. Ask, what fear is speaking here? What story have I been repeating that weighs on this area? Notice patterns. Then consciously speak a new message. If fear has whispered to your heart, "You are weak, you will fail," respond, "I am strong, guided, supported by the infinite life within me." If fear tightens your throat with images of humiliation, imagine yourself speaking with confidence, being heard, being respected. Affirm, "My words are guided. I am safe to express myself." At first, the old sensations may persist. The body has been trained for years. But with patience, repetition, and calm affirmation, new grooves are carved. Each time you respond to a fearful signal with faith instead of panic, you rewrite the script. We will no longer use this body as a canvas for terror. We will use it as a canvas for trust. Fear has been rehearsed long enough. Imagine the power of steady, loving belief in life, in healing, in divine intelligence. Stop sending danger signals to your cells. Begin sending safety, gratitude, and cooperation. The body is ready. It is willing. It learns a new language. Muscles relax, breath deepens, the heart finds calm, sleep restores, symptoms diminish. The body is not a prison built by fear, but an instrument through which your spirit expresses harmony, resilience, and vitality. When you understand this, illness is no longer a random curse, nor health a random blessing. Both are dialogues between mind and matter. And now, you can speak a different word into that dialogue, a word of faith, calm, and renewal. Chapter 5. Fear and Money. How Scarcity Takes Form. Few things expose fear more honestly than money. You can mask insecurity with confidence, hide anxiety behind busyness, or joke away self-doubt. But money reveals what you truly believe about life, safety, and your own worth. Money itself is neutral. It carries no fear, no peace. The fear lives in the meaning the mind assigns to it. Scarcity consciousness is not an empty bank account. It is the belief that there is never enough and never will be. It whispers, if something can go wrong, it will. If I get ahead, I'll be pulled back. If stability appears, it won't last. This voice is not harmless commentary. It is a command. The subconscious treats it as instruction and works faithfully to prove it true. Wealth is not created first in income or opportunity. It is created in consciousness. When the inner image is lack, no amount of effort brings peace. You may earn more, yet feel poorer. You may receive money, yet lose it in ways that match your expectation. Fear programs outcomes. From childhood, many absorb a script. Money is hard. Money causes conflict. Money is dangerous. Survival requires struggle. These ideas sink deep. And when ease or abundance appears, it feels suspicious, undeserved, unsafe. Fear sabotages quietly, rejecting opportunities, underpricing value, clinging to draining work, avoiding growth. What looks like caution is often obedience to scarcity. Scarcity persists not because life is limited, but because the mind repeats limitation. The mistake is confusing the channel with the source. Jobs, clients, markets, these are pathways, not origins. When you believe supply comes from one fragile place, fear is inevitable. When that channel shakes, you feel cut off from life itself. But supply is not personal. It is infinite, intelligent, and adaptive. Some fear money not because they lack it, but because they have it. When wealth is linked to guilt, danger, or judgment, the subconscious seeks safety by returning to familiar shortage. Loss follows belief, not luck. All money fears share one lie. You are unsupported. That lie shapes behavior. Hesitation instead of movement, contraction instead of expansion, silence instead of initiative. Over time, stagnation becomes what you call reality. Yet the same law that manifested scarcity can manifest supply. The imagination that replayed unpaid bills can learn to picture stability. The emotions tied to panic can be replaced with calm confidence. Action taken from fear gives way to action taken from trust. This does not make you careless. It makes you clear. Worry has never paid a bill. Panic has never built wealth. Shame has never created increase. Change begins when you rewrite the inner story. When you impress the subconscious with new assumptions, support, guidance, sufficiency, it begins to open new paths. Ideas appear. Conversations shift. Choices improve. Not from desperation, but from self-respect. Money is not your master. It is your mirror. It has been reflecting your beliefs about worth, safety, and possibility. As those beliefs change, the reflection must follow. Fear has shaped your financial patterns long enough. Now a different pattern is ready to take root. One where money is no longer a threat, but a natural expression of inner wealth that was always there. Chapter 6. Fear in Love. The self-fulfilling prophecy. If money reveals what you believe about supply, relationships reveal what you believe about yourself. Nowhere does fear speak louder than in love. And nowhere does the law of mind, when misunderstood, create deeper pain. Every relationship you enter is filtered through the image you hold of yourself. If, beneath the surface, you believe I am unlovable, people always leave, or love always hurts, those beliefs are not private thoughts. They are instructions. The subconscious obeys them faithfully. Fear in love usually takes 3 forms. The first fears never being chosen. They carry memories of rejection like evidence. Missed texts, failed connections, awkward moments. Each one is replayed until it becomes identity. I am unwanted. The subconscious accepts this as truth and guides them toward situations that confirm it. Genuine interest is doubted. Emotionally unavailable people feel familiar. When it ends, fear says, "See, I told you." The second fears loss. Love arrives, but peace does not. The subconscious, trained by abandonment, whispers constantly, "This won't last." The person watches, tests, clings, withdraws. They live in imagined futures where love collapses. Under that pressure, connection tightens. When a relationship breaks, fear claims victory. The third fears being seen. They wear masks, the strong one, the funny one, the rescuer, while hiding their truth. Intimacy feels dangerous, not because others are unsafe, but because the inner image is harsh. The subconscious protects by sabotaging closeness. Distance replaces connection. Again, the belief is confirmed. At the root of all three is one illusion. My worth depends on how others treat me. When you hand your value to another human being, fear is inevitable. People change. Relationships shift. If your sense of lovability rests on their behavior, your inner world will never feel stable. The law of mind cannot give you what you deny within yourself. If you believe you're unworthy, life will echo that belief. Not to punish you, but to agree with you. To change your relationships, you must change the image you hold of yourself in love. Listen to the quiet sentences you repeat. No one stays. I always attract the wrong people. I am too much. I am not enough. These are not observations. They are affirmations of fear. Begin introducing a new word. Not fantasy, but truth you are willing to grow into. Instead of "no one chooses me," consider, "There are people capable of seeing my value, and I am learning to see it too." Instead of "love always ends," try, "I am guided into relationships that are healthy, respectful, and real." At first, these thoughts may feel foreign. That is a sign you are no longer repeating the past. As the inner image changes, behavior follows. You stop chasing. You stop clinging. You walk away sooner, not from fear, but from clarity. You no longer ask another person to heal your sense of lack. No relationship can fill a void created by self-rejection. Your worth does not come from being chosen. You are chosen because worth already lives within you. Fear has shaped your love stories long enough. Cycles of loss, distance, and disappointment. Now the law that once repeated those patterns can be used consciously. A new script can take root. One where love is not something you beg for or brace against, but something you allow, grounded in the quiet certainty that you are already enough. Chapter 7. Transmuting Fear into Faith, Inner Alchemy. There comes a moment when you realize something sobering. Fighting fear has never freed you. You resisted it, distracted yourself from it, tried to outrun it, yet it always returned, because fear was never an enemy outside you. It was your own creative power turned inward, distorted, misdirected. Freedom does not come from destroying fear. It comes from redirecting it. This is the inner alchemy. Every alchemist begins with base material. In the soul's work, that material is fear. Fear of lack, loss, rejection, and the unknown. Dense, heavy, uncomfortable. Yet hidden inside fear is the same energy that becomes courage, wisdom, and faith when purified. The first step is recognition. Stop treating fearful thoughts like prophecies. For years, you bowed to them. A bad feeling. Something will go wrong. And your body obeyed as if a verdict had already been issued. Fear ruled because you believed it spoke truth. Now you learn a new response. This is a habit, not a revelation. This is conditioning, not destiny. That small separation breaks fear's spell. You are no longer merged with it. You are the observer. What you resist, you reinforce. Meet fear with panic, and the subconscious marks it as powerful. Meet it with calm awareness, and the subconscious hears a different message. This voice is no longer in charge. Then comes the deeper work. Every fear guards a belief. Behind anxiety is usually a sentence like, "I'm not safe. I'm unsupported. I'm not enough." Fear exists to keep you from questioning that belief. But healing begins when you walk through the door it guards. If failure terrifies you, look beneath it. Perhaps the real belief is, if I fail, I am worthless. Once seen clearly, it loses its hypnosis. You can ask, who taught me this? Is my value really measured by outcomes? This is where faith begins, not as blind optimism, but as a new interpretation of reality. Faith is choosing to side with a greater intelligence than fear, not pretending danger doesn't exist, but refusing to let fear define truth. The subconscious cannot work with emptiness. If you remove fear, you must replace it. So you create new inner images. If fear has rehearsed disaster, you rehearse clarity. If fear has imagined rejection, you imagine respect. If fear has scripted collapse, you script resolution. You picture the conversation going calmly. You feel the relief as if it has already passed. You return to the image again and again, without strain. Repetition plus feeling is alchemy. Affirmations work not because of words, but because of emotion. One sentence felt deeply outweighs 1,000 spoken mechanically. Slow down. Let the truth sink beneath language. Let it feel possible. Attention is the final lever. Fear survives on fixation, on what might go wrong. Faith redirects attention to resources, support, learning, and unseen assistance. This is not denial. It is selection. You choose which facts to magnify. Remember moments when life supported you unexpectedly. Recall times help appeared unplanned. Each memory trains the subconscious to see life as an ally, not an enemy. And then, surrender. Not surrender to fear, but surrender of the illusion of total control. Much fear comes from believing everything depends on you. When you release that burden, the nervous system softens. I do what I can with wisdom and love, and I trust the rest to a higher intelligence. That sentence alone can quiet storms. This alchemy is not a single breakthrough. It is a daily practice. Each time you replace catastrophe with possibility. Each time you choose faith over reflex. Each time you affirm safety instead of doom. You turn base metal into gold. Fear does not disappear forever, but it loses its throne. It becomes a messenger, not a master. And the very energy that once built your prison becomes the fuel for your freedom. Chapter 8. From Worry Rituals to Faith Rituals. By now, it should be clear, fear has never been a fleeting visitor. Fear has been your ritual, your daily practice, the unspoken devotion you've offered your mind. Without realizing it, you have fed it with your time, your imagination, your emotion, and that is why it has grown so mighty. To change your life, you must change your rituals. Every day, almost automatically, you perform interactions, checking problems in your mind, rehearsing worst-case scenarios, reviewing old mistakes, imagining future disasters. These are worry rituals. Every time you repeat them, you strengthen fear. You train the subconscious to believe danger is constant, that peace is a luxury you cannot afford. The law of mind doesn't debate whether this feels good or bad. It simply records where your energy flows. If you invest your best attention in fear, your outer reality aligns accordingly. The invitation of this chapter is radical and simple. Replace worry rituals with faith rituals, not as an addition to anxiety, but as a deliberate substitution. The moment your mind once served fear, it can now serve higher patterns of thought and life. The sacred window of morning is the first opportunity. When you wake, your subconscious is vulnerable, still near the surface. Many people are immediately swept into fear. What if today fails? What about the bills, the conversation, the problem? The body tightens, the mind races. Imagine this instead. Before reaching for your phone, before letting old patterns take hold, you pause. You breathe slowly. You declare, "Today I choose to trust the life within me. Infinite intelligence goes before me and clears my path. I am guided, supported, and protected." You picture your day unfolding with calm, clarity, and order. Conversations flow. Tasks are handled with ease. For a brief moment, you know you're not alone. This is your morning faith ritual. At first, old habits of worry will try to reclaim this space. Thoughts will whisper, "This is naive." Let the problems run. Gently, consistently, return to your declaration. Repetition is how the subconscious learns. The sacred window of night is equally powerful. For many, the pillow is an altar of anxiety. As the body slows, the mind speeds, replaying the day's mistakes, rehearsing tomorrow's fears. The last images before sleep are seeds planted in fertile soil. If those seeds are disaster, the subconscious grows fear while you rest. You can offer a different planting. Recall 3 moments of support, no matter how small. A kind word, a problem solved, a quiet joy. Declare, infinite wisdom restores my mind and body. Divine intelligence brings order, harmony, and healing. Then form a gentle image of yourself free from fear, calm, capable, aligned. Let it float in your mind as you drift into sleep, a final loving instruction to your subconscious. Throughout the day, every time fear arises, use it as a signal, not for self-criticism, but for redirection. Fear says, "Look at what might go wrong." You answer, "I see the challenge, but I choose to focus on guidance, solutions, and order." A whispered, "I am guided," or a mindful breath can redirect the immense creative power of your mind. Joseph Murphy emphasized simplicity. Sincere, consistent rituals are more powerful than elaborate but infrequent practices. Even brief phrases spoken with feeling, repeated daily, impress the subconscious far more than one grand declaration forgotten the next day. Forgiveness belongs here too. Much fear is rooted in old resentment, anger at those who hurt you, blame toward yourself, bitterness at life. Holding on to these chains keeps the subconscious tethered to pain. To release them is to reclaim your power. I release every mental image of harm. I forgive others and myself. I allow divine wisdom to handle what I cannot. Imagine cords of resentment dissolving. The energy once trapped in anger becomes available for healing, creativity, and growth. Fear loses one more root. Slowly, your inner life transforms. Where there was "what if it all collapses?" there is now "whatever comes, I am not alone." Where there was "I always fail," there is "I am learning, guided, and growing." Where there was "I am at the mercy of fear," there is "I am the director of my mind, the author of my life." Faith rituals consecrate the same creative force that fear once commanded. Worry trained the subconscious to expect the worst. Faith trains it to cooperate with the best. The power hasn't changed. Only the allegiance has. Each morning, each gentle night, each mindful moment is an invitation. Rehearse a new reality. Your fears have been rehearsed long enough. Epilogue. What will you choose to materialize now? Your fears were never harmless thoughts. They were instructions, seeds, prayers you didn't realize you were praying. The law of mind has been faithful. It has taken your most repeated images, your strongest emotions, your most practiced expectations, and built a life to match them. Not to punish you, but because that is how it works. Now, you know, the same power that once obeyed fear will gladly obey faith. You are no longer a passive victim of what might happen. You are a conscious creator, impressing your beliefs on the subconscious. Fear may still visit. You are human, but no longer rules. You listen, observe, and ask, what belief is this fear defending? Is this truth? And you answer from a higher place. From this moment forward, you no longer use your imagination to rehearse ruin. You use it to cooperate with the good already within you. Your mind becomes an instrument of peace, supply, love, and divine order. Your fears have manifested long enough. From now on, you give your creative power to faith. The law of mind hasn't changed. You have.